And I couldn't help but notice there was this large Chevy truck, big Chevy truck with a big, you know, Trump flag in the bed of the truck, flying a big one. You know how the Trump cult members, the MAGA cult members, put their Trump flags in their trucks and they drive around and stuff. Um, so it was parked right in front of the immigration office, um, in downtown, where all the immigrants are going in for their appointments and stuff. They had there's a line, and I just I couldn't help but start thinking, it's like, are these people communicating with each other? Are they planning something? Because the rhetoric has always been from the today's Republican Party, from the MAGA cult, is that these people are a bunch of invader criminal aliens who are here, to rape your children and murder your wife and your daughter and traffic drugs and kill people here. According to the MAGA rhetoric, these people are just a bunch of evil non-humans. That's why they call them aliens. Um, and they keep reinforcing this thing, this rhetoric. Every time you hear, doesn't matter what happens, the first thing out of this Nazi scum death cult, first thing out of this their mouths is this are rapists and murderers and drug traffickers. Same shit Trump said after he came down that escalator. Um, Nazi propaganda, and I'm concerned. They've shown what they do. They've shown not what they can do. They've shown what they actually do. There's people. They're been proven right in saying that, hey, Trump's got our back, and he does. Trump has their back. It doesn't matter what they do. If they do it furthering the Trump agenda, Trump pardons them. Trump pardoned about 1,600 criminals, and just set them free on the streets. Um, they beat up police officers. They uh, tasered them. They beat them up with barricades and used their flagpoles as spears and eye gouged one. One of them died of a stroke the next day, and they get set free. Two of them were the leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, and they were both sentenced to decades in prison for seditious conspiracy to overthrow the United States government through armed insurrection. One of them got 28 years, and Trump pardoned him, and set them free, without no probation or nothing, just out. So my concern is that these people have shown, and I can't forget that, I don't know, people, these people get away with anything. It's called white privilege. It's glaringly obvious in your face. When Biden was campaigning in Texas, there was a convoy of Trump supporters in their trucks with their flags, their Trump flags and stuff, and they had their license plates covered, and they were trying to run Biden's bus off the road. That's a federal crime, even if you're not doing it to a presidential candidate, and you're concealing your identity. Nothing happened to these people. Nothing. What I'm concerned is that these people are parking their vehicles in front of places where a lot of immigrants are going in for their appointments. In this instance, it was in Orlando. They had that big Trump flag on top of, in the back of a big truck right in front of the immigration office. Um, and what if they're not just trying to intimidate these people? Because everybody knows, that the modern swastika is the Trump flag. That's what it is. It's a Nazi organization. It's a bigoted, uh, it's a fascist, right wing demagogue infested hate organization. I call it the American Nazi Party. And they're openly destroying the United States democracy. What if these people are standing in front of this immigration offices waiting for an order, waiting for orders to attack people, to attack immigrants, because the rhetoric from the White House and from the modern Republican Party is that these people are criminals and we have to get them out of the United States, because they're raping your daughters just like that. They're just Pam Bondi. Just they asked her the other day, is like, when are you going to return this person? The Salvadorian guy they sent to the Gulag in El Salvador at Bukele's prison. And it's like, well, we don't return. She just flat out slandered him and lied in front of them, saying that he's a terrorist and all this bullshit, which he's not. There's no proof of that, none of it. Um, and there was no due process, no nothing. And they're violating the
You've got mail.
Supreme Court's order. Um, so all these things happening. So it's. And I got out of there as soon as I saw that. I noticed this. Like, why is a truck with a Trump flag parked right in front with dark tinted windows, right in front? I think it was running too. I think the engine was running. Um, that's scary because I don't know if they're going to all of a sudden decide that we're going to start killing immigrants in front of offices. What if they start doing that? You know what? They'll probably get pardoned. This is how serious where we're at in the United States. People are considering just leaving the United States because of the Nazi environment that we're living in. That psychoterror that this Nazi Trump administration is imposing upon people. So me personally, if I see one of those trucks or any of those people parked in front of an immigrant, people who, or immigration officer, something like that, I get up, get away from the, I try not to cross. I'm actually considering, you know, just calling the cops and say, hey man, I'm scared that those people, I know they have the right to First Amendment, but what if there's one of these people, this Oath Keepers or this Proud Boys or whoever they are, they're there just to finish the job that they started in January 6th and open fire on these people. You know, that's where we're at in the United States. It's scary, man. Oh, you're overreacting. I've been hearing that since the first time I called it, when I said this motherfucker's going to be a dictator, a Nazi, racist piece of shit dictator. Because it stopped being, there were people that were all outraged, rightfully so, when Trump opened his racist mouth and said all the crap he said about Mexicans, even in his party. Now it's not, there's no outrage. That's their main message. Their main message. It's racism and hate and destroy everything, just like the Nazis did. Now, who's overreacting now? I could say I told you so, but it's useless. Here we are. United States democracy is over. That's the truth. That's the ugly ass truth. It's over. And guess what? If this judges hold, which they're going to issue contempt orders against the administration, nothing's going to happen. Why? Because in order for them to, they can't issue an order for arrest for, they can, but no one's going to, affect that arrest warrant for contempt of court against these federal judges, because the people who are in charge, the person who's in charge of serving those warrants is Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice, the Trump cult member of all cult members. So this is where it happens. Oh well, if that happens, we're in a constitutional crisis. We're in a constitutional crisis the minute the guy started signing unconstitutional orders and banning birthright citizenship and the rest of the shit that they've been doing. It's been a coup d'etat. The coup d'etat has been perpetrated already. The minute he named South African Nazi billionaire as his co-president to fire everyone illegally and steal the budget and steal the key to the processing of $5 trillion or $5-6 trillion worth of our money in the federal government and gave him access to everything. The coup d'etat has been perpetrated already, So it's dangerous. I won't be here long. I'm leaving.